Hey, this is Kenneth, and today I'm going to be showing you how to use the scroll saw, which is the little cousin to the more terrifying bandsaw which I showed you yesterday. Now, the scroll saw is primarily used for very detailed work. It's got a very thin blade which allows it to make very tight turns on thin material. Alright? So, first of all, remember, this is not me training you how to do it, this is me merely showing. If you cut your finger off, I'm going to be sad, but it's not going to be my fault. I like my fingers and I put a lot of effort into keeping them. You should too. Now, before we start cutting, you again have to make sure, is the right blade on it? Now, selecting blades is real easy. I have Delta blades here, and on the packaging for each one, they tell you what the model number, its width, its thickness, teeth per inch on it, its length, which is going to have to match your tool, and it gives a description for recommended usage. So like this one, which I randomly pulled out of the box, is recommended usage for cutting hard and softwoods 3/16 of an inch up to 2 inches. Also cut plastic, paper, felt, bone, etc. Now, while I'm showing you how to use a scroll saw, I'm actually going to be showing you one of my favorite little projects as a kid, which is making jigsaw puzzles. So what you do is you take a piece of 1/8 inch wood. I'm using masonite here, which is that cheap particle board stuff on the back of like bookshelves, but any sort of thin plywood, thin cheap wood. I was doing this back in middle school, so it made for great gifts to the parents. Is you would take the wood, you could paste on a picture of the family or the dog or the parents or whatever you want to cut up and have them put a lot of effort into trying to figure out what you cut up. Then you just sit here and you cut out standard jigsaw pieces with it. It doesn't turn out as well as the paper punched cardboard ones that you can buy at the store, but it's the love and care that counts. Alright, so I'll show you how to change the blades, and then we'll dig in and I'll show you what it's like to actually cut with a scroll saw. Now, changing scroll saw blades is a real simple two-step process. First, you release the tension by releasing the lever up here. This is the fine adjust tension knob, but you don't need to do that for blade changes. So release it, and then taking the Allen wrench tool that comes with it, you release the set screw here, and there's a corresponding set screw underneath the table. These two set screws simply hold in the blade. So if I show you right here, the blade is simply a piece of metal that's solid on both ends, which the set screws grab, and then as the arm oscillates back and forth, it cuts. Now, you will have to release the blades not only when you're changing blades, but often if you're cutting a detail on the center of a piece, you will drill a pilot hole, release the blade, and then thread it through the piece. So this is something that you tend to do quite a bit when you're doing serious scroll saw work. Alright, so now I'll show you some cutting with it. Before that, you want to make sure that your guards are adjusted correctly. Main thing is, since the scroll saw is a reciprocating cutting action instead of the continuous action that a bandsaw is, you want to make sure that the guard is firm down to the material. As you can see, that it's kind of this fork here, it's spring loaded, and so that holds the material down, but you also want to be very careful to hold the material down while you work on it. This guard right here is to save my fingers, which I very much appreciate because I'm a big fan of my fingers. And then this tube right here, you'll notice, is actually a pneumatic line which comes from a small air pump, like an aquarium pump, which helps to blow away debris as you're cutting. Alright, I'll show you some footage from me cutting my jigsaw, and then I'll show you the my little toy jigsaw when it's done. So, a few minutes of cutting later, and you have, in my case, just a 9-piece jigsaw puzzle. I just freehanded this as I went, so you can see some of them didn't quite turn out the way I wanted, but with a little bit more planning and drawing, you could probably get what looks like a fairly nice jigsaw puzzle. One thing to note is, since you are actually cutting it out, The pieces will be a little loose, but it's the love that counts when you're giving gifts like this, not the actual, precision of it. So I've given these as gifts several times, and they are well received because they're made from the heart. So this has been Kenneth showing you how to use a scroll saw to make a jigsaw puzzle. All right, enjoy.